Is your IT team organized right? Many CIOs, when they come in, they need to change the organization. Many times it's based on personal preference, ease of the change, and the technologies involved. Sure, they make their mark, but is it sufficient? And usually the answer is no. Let me step back. Personal preference. For example, I am a big believer in lean IT as well as DevOps and self-managed teams. I have looked at that, and that's what I want to go to in my mind for the best for the business, because after years of experience, these are the things that I find get the most value for IT. That's great. And you may have your own preferences that you come into thinking and know that has worked at every other company that you've ever worked with. But the reality is, stop. What has worked everywhere else may or may not work for this new company. You've heard me talk about before leadership expectations, cultural fit, as well as funding. Same things apply here. But let's dig into that a little deeper. When we're taking a look at our IT organization, we really need to consider some elements of what's going to be the most effective for this organization. So things to consider. What are your value streams? Usual IT has different business services. These are the things that directly enable the business to get the job done. And then more of those IT services. They're the essential IT to support the business. So for example, supporting and putting out your CRM system would fit under your business services arena. The backups, the proactive monitoring, all those things, even your IT application operations side will fit under that IT services. You may have others. These are the common ones that you have to consider. And underneath each of these value streams, you're going to have different specific services that you're providing. But in general, you'll see that this is where your major breakdown of where some of the differences is that you have to consider. Is your work a pull or a push model? Now again, because of the different business services, you might find that you have to do this differently depending on what you're talking about, whether you're talking about business services or IT services. Now, the pull model is the one we're used to. These are support tickets that your demand is driven by service tickets being put in, whether that's for application work, could be done for requests for PCs, it could be done for anything. That's a pull type of model. You're always going to have a certain amount of pull model because you do want to have service tickets. You want to know when something breaks and you want to know it from the end user. But many of our services could be done with a push, and this is where I push on the idea versus proactive and strategic plans, especially in the business services. It's much better for IT to be working with the business all along and be able to make suggestions and push them along to get them to where they need to be, and for us to be working on those right things far ahead of where they want to be. Why that's important is a very simple thing. Commonly, a lot of the work we do is going to take months to get to the delivery point. If we have to wait for the business to ask us, that means we've got this delay of months to get there. If we're helping the business all along to get to the point and thinking about ahead of time what things they're going to need and working in that sort of way, and we're basically pushing them to go in the direction that fits their strategic plans, that's going to be very proactive, and that's going to give you the most value and quick turn of value to market. Again, with this push and pull, most organizations are going to have a mixture. That's not bad. You can't run a fully proactive IT group unless you don't listen to the business and don't care that you want to hear from them. That's a bad idea. You probably don't want to have a full pull system, because if you're all full pull, you're just reacting. You're never going to be getting ahead of the curve. So somewhere in the middle is where you're going to need. Probably you want to have your pull mainly for your IT services and your push mainly for your business services, but again, there'll be variations within it. How does work flow? Who really needs to work together to deliver? Thinking about this is going to avoid putting up obstacles that you don't need to have, or additional waste and waiting that has to occur. So really you need to look at that workflow, see how everyone how that all works together and how they can be worked as teams if they are working on the same thing. When you think about it, this is where DevOps came from. The idea that development and operations are separate for delivering out a product just made a wall that became very, very difficult to overcome and made it take a lot longer to deliver innovation. By using DevOps and bringing these two teams together, we found we can deliver things much, much faster. Point is, forget DevOps by itself. Just think about it within your groups. Who really does need to work together? How do we bring them together in the most efficient model? So based on all these things, we can really think about what the optimal state for our IT group is. That's nice, but that's not enough. You have to consider other factors. You have to consider the current model. What does the model look like? Because this is going to take time. This is a transformation and has all the variants, all the organizational impacts, all the change management issues of any other change that you're going to do. So you have to consider the current model. You have to consider the maturity level of your model and of your people. Are they capable of making changes quickly, or are they going to have to go through this over a long period of time? Don't shortcut it on maturity level. Don't get this one wrong. Don't be overly optimistic. If you try to bring advanced models into an organization that is not ready for it, you're going to be very, very frustrated. Informal leadership. This is a critical aspect. You probably have people within your IT team who are the real leaders. Forget who's got the title of manager, who's got the title of leaders. You may have informal leaders here. These are the people that you have to know because you need to know how this is going to work going forward. You don't want to ostracize these informal leaders and put them in an area that they're going to be ineffective. Again, last one is company culture. Now, you could also add leadership expectations and funding here. But really, you want to be careful. You don't want to push, for example, lean in IT, you don't want to push for agile in IT when the organization is not ready for agile as a whole. If your product owners are all IT and you're doing everything in all IT, you're not really doing agile. Don't pretend that it is. It's going to give you all sorts of problems later on. So consider the company culture and see where you need to be. At the end of the day, when we add all these things together, we come up with what our optimal model is, and knowing what the current model is and the obstacles between the two, the gaps, if you will, so that we can develop a plan on how to get from here to there. Now, this journey may take years, okay, but really you can make a lot of the changes very, very quickly to be the most efficient as you can be for right now, and then perfect it over time. It's like any other change. Don't wait to get the whole thing done. Work in those chunks that you can do to make the most effect, and you will then have the most impact on how you're delivering IT for your business. Thanks. Have a great day.